Hello everybody, this is the Scarlet Troll, pronouns he, him, and I've made a terrible mistake. See, it hasn't escaped my notice that the last 3 reviews I've done have all been for horror movies, and while horror is one of my favorite genres, I don't want to pigeonhole myself, you know? So I took a look at what else was coming out this weekend, and something is fundamentally broken inside me, where when I see that a movie only has one critic review the Friday of its release, calling it one of the worst movies of 2026, or at least something to that effect, my natural response isn't, oh, well, I better avoid that. Instead, it's more, ooh, what's going on here? I better check that out. And that's how a random stranger on the internet unwittingly double dog dared me into seeing Jonah Feingold's Busboys. And if your brain works anything like mine, I'm sorry, first of all, but also, don't fall for the same mistake, don't take the bait, don't see it. Not all bad movies are equal in terms of how they affect the audience. And to that end, I will argue till the day I die that the worst bad movies are bad comedies. Because you can laugh at a bad drama or a bad action film, but if you're sitting through a bad comedy, the odds are that you are very explicitly not laughing. And that's the unenviable space that Busboys finds itself in, a painfully unfunny throwback to early 2000s comedies. If it's supposed to be a parody, well, it's no Fackham Hall, and Fackham Hall is no Scary Movie, and Scary Movie is no Airplane. This is the epic movie version of Dumb and Dumber, a collection of pointless scenes, desperately struggling for laughs, and sprinkled with the kind of casual queerphobic jokes that you expect comedians like Dave Chappelle to go on stage and make, only to try to act surprised when right-wing dirtbags co-opt their entire stand-up bit for their whole campaign platform. There are moments where you can tell that you're not going to have a good time with the movie right off the bat, and in this exact moment, I can't think of a better example than the fact that this movie skips over all of its studio title cards. To be fair, it does keep the movie a little bit shorter, and, well, if it were me, I wouldn't want to admit having anything to do with this movie either. Only to go straight into Kid Rock's Cowboy. I'd tell you the premise, but I don't care, and neither should you. David Spade isn't enough to save this movie, Theo Von is actively making it worse, and so are the writers by breaking the cardinal rule of movie references and reminding me that I could in fact be watching Scarface instead of this. There are, admittedly, a few jokes that got a chuckle out of me, and a handful more that managed to pry out a reluctant smirk, but it's not enough for me to say that this movie is worth putting on even in the background. I was honestly struggling with where to put this movie on my tier list, and I ultimately settled on don't pay money to see this, only because the undercurrent of constant frustration I felt meets the bare minimum of provoking an emotional response necessary to keep it out of Borderlands. The only reason I won't call this the worst movie I've seen all year is that The Strangers Chapter 3 just barely manages to squeak out below it as the dull culmination of an ultimately already pointless trilogy, but as far as singular offerings go, Busboys is clearly the new low bar. In a weird kind of way, I'm almost grateful for the perspective check. Not enough to give the movie any real credit, but enough where I do have to appreciate the reminder that I was being entirely too hard on hunting Matthew Nichols. Anyways, thanks for watching, don't take the bait, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share the video around, and I'll catch you all next time.